start to look at it, we were looking at the law of the land. When you start to really look at the rules, the wording, the legalese, how things are said, you don't have to lose your car.
One at a time, lads, one at a time. Come on, easy. And it's only 2 or 3 people speaking, so notice yourselves, 2 or 3 people.
Yeah, it's only that you have to be prepared to, because there may perhaps people where they will break their own laws and say, right, we will just like that.
Okay, accept it, accept it. But you two, come on, stop. There's so many more people here.
As well as kind of not doing what you're told, there's also like doing things like growing food, growing plants, talking to, like, one thing I'd love to see from our community, because we're all kind of relatively educated, relatively wealthy people. Up in the north, there's all these estates of people who've been shat on by, for a long time, ever since women went up and harried the north. That stain is still there. Those estates could be growing loads of food. When people start growing food together and swapping with each other, like you grow tomatoes, I grow potatoes, and we exchange.
Abundance.
It's got more value.
It's got more value.
It's got more value.
And abundance.
If you tell me how to grow lettuces, that information has got real value. So also with our experiences and what we're learning, what we're experiencing in our lives, a lot of us are writing about it on the internet. Other people are reading it, and it's giving them encouragement. And do not underestimate the value of sharing what you've learned through experience with other people. You might not even ever meet the person who's read it, but they will pick it up and you'll go, yeah, that makes sense to me, actually. Because a lot of the time, we've lived in isolation, we've had thoughts, we've never had them verbalized or articulated. And somebody comes along and articulates it. And it's so much better than the situation where, oh, I didn't know that. It's like, yeah, I've always known that. Now it's out, it's free. And that's really, really important, because we're kind of like 50 years behind South America at the moment, in Europe, in terms of building community, friendship, structure. Because you can't have a movement without community, friendship, structure. And that has to be built out of meaning. I've given you some tomatoes. We've shared this bit.
You can't forget, sorry, that they are absolutely, they have totally, like in Cuba, they have totally different, they need to have a supportive system because they are so poor.
Yeah.
And it's the same what happened in Eastern Europe. Yeah. If it's no support, market system, everything is going to be, falling apart.
Yeah.
Here, it's impossible to do that.
Well, no, we can hope we keep on voting for the Tories. There's a lovely piece of video. This Irish guy was the Irish election. Ireland's a small country where a lot of the kind of new kind of...
Lads, I have to say, yeah, this is 4 people for the last half an hour, and I'm just bringing that up.
I just let it finish.
No, Cornelius, stop now.
Alright.
Silence. Make an open space, lads, please.
Experience and growth then. I don't claim any particular status, but I have helped, I take everyone knows who John Harris is, or most people probably do. And I recognise a few people here from the talks that he started at the Foundry, which is just down the road. And that's where I first met Danny, because he was stood on a milk crate up front, and I don't think he had even used any videos back then. And things were just about to start in a couple of weeks' time. But in terms of growth, from then to now, I've seen an unstoppable groundswell, and for a time, for about a year and a half, I put everything that I had into trying to see this growth happen and make it happen, and do everything that I could and focus all my energy and money and time and car and everything at the forsaking of everything else in my life, because I wanted to try it before as hard as I could. And when I reached the breaking point, and I was at the point of losing my wife, I had to stop, and I made the decision to go back into the matrix, as we like to call it, and start earning money again. And I actually decided to turn my energy back to developing myself and trying to resolve the problems within myself. And it sounds very cliche, but I started to grow plants. I moved into a place that had a garden. I transformed the garden. I started growing herbs. I've worked with my wife at developing now a beautiful garden, and I consider myself to be far more at peace than I ever was with the chaos that surrounds me, but it's not actually a part of my life anymore. And so I feel tremendously blessed and protected, because I know now that I don't need to go out and change and be combative and enforce my will in the kingdom and everyone else, is in actual fact the truth has already been planted in this country and in the awareness of everyone, to the point where now I come to another meeting, and this is the first one that I've been to since John did his tour and I met you in Glastonbury, and we had a chat at the front door there, and with very little warning, with very little effort, and with very little spreading through websites and promotions and whatever, I've seen, I think we're pretty close to 100 people packed into a tiny little room with no agenda and no real idea of why we're here or what we're talking about, other than we know we need to be here.
We just counted roughly 63.
Huh?
Just counted roughly 63.
It's more than 63.
Roughly. Seemed to be 50 in the outside ring and like 12 there and one sitting here.
Stand correct. But anyway, it feels like a lot. It feels like a lot. And the thing is that this has taken no effort on my behalf. It's just been something that's happened easy, and I'm just so pleased about that. And that's what I wanted to say. I just want to say it's amazing to see so many people.
It's not even that easy to get to because some people job interview things don't work, where they keep calling you up if you haven't got a job every 6 weeks and try and force you. How do you avoid that? But how do you know how to?
Sorry to interrupt you. I was chatting with John like 2 days ago because we're still friends, and he said, "Look, I've got a piece of advice for you. If you don't want to get a speeding ticket, don't speed. If you don't want to get a parking ticket, don't park somewhere you're not meant to park, and we'll deal with it that way until you reach in and pass A, and obviously everything changes at that point. But I know it's simple, but if you don't want conflict, then don't put yourself into that position."
That's increasingly hard to do.
Yeah, of course, and that's why I'm saying.
The statutes like crazy.
Because as soon as you learn how to behave, they then create a new level, and then it took time to just stop thinking.
It's reached the point where you don't know you're doing something wrong, and then you've done something wrong. And if someone's caught you, then you've got a notice.
Oh, that's interesting.
63,000 statutes, and ignorance of the law doesn't excuse it. So you know.
There's one thing.
Does anybody here know what every 63?
There's one thing I'd like to bring up. There's a load of points that could be brought up, but hasn't been by anyone else yet. If we think about the Romany Gypsies, every single one of us, just think about Romany Gypsies, think about how they're all over the world, think about how we all know who Romany Gypsies are. Everybody knows them. More than the Irish, everybody knows Romany Gypsies, they know their lifestyle, and they know the law doesn't apply to them. That's the bit I want to mention.
They're still not getting away with it.
Why is it that the law doesn't apply to them? Just that question first.
They can run away.
No,
they're
no.
registered.
They're themselves now.
They're not
And
registered.
started getting them into education.
No, come on, talk to us all, please. It's just something I want to introduce as a new strain to the
I
way
think
we're
it's
going so
a point
far.
in time. We can use them as an example, but probably pessimistic. But I think that it's going to get to the stage where they will start to feel the force of laws.
They are. They've been off
They always have done for thousands of years. But there's something they haven't forgotten that I'm suggesting to you. Nobody's remembered so far in what I've heard.
Yeah,
There's something they've never forgotten that we could do with remembering.
It's their land. Leave it on to nature.
It's their land.
Free and you can't be told by anybody what to do.
Safety in numbers and all that.
And also what you were saying.
There's a lot of things we can learn from them.
There's
Just
enough
by thinking a
people
few
here
seconds.
who have tried different things for party tickets or tax. There's a community, there is already a community you can find out from to fight against certain things already. So, and it's worth, it's worth trying small and then going from there. Because obviously, like I said,
Rough figures just to lag it for documents.
doing nothing is not going to become not.
It's history in the making, isn't it?
Because 10 years down the line, they'll take it away from you anyway. So it's worth fighting. Well, take your things away. So go and stay owned.
You don't own anything. Who's thinking?
Rather than, okay, but then they'll come for your body. So rather than say take things, just talk about use force to overcome your will. There's the plain truth. And then it's not just we've got privileged things in the West and they'll take our things away from us, and that's not fair because they've got more things than anyone. Which is kind of how I view what you mentioned. Because for me, the depleted uranium being dropped in all these Muslim countries pisses all over this kind of conversation and says it's rubbish. Total rubbish. The Romany Gypsy people haven't been getting away with it at any stage down through history. That's not their interest. They just haven't been forgetting it. They never bowed their heads. They never accepted subservience. And all of our people did, otherwise we wouldn't be here trying to regain it. That doesn't mean we were all wimps. That just means that they never stopped cutting us down with weapons against their laws. So when you mention like that's breaking their own laws, it's bullshit. They've always killed us and it was always wrong. And they make statutes only to excuse that fact. So let's not mention statutes at this again. I said it at the start. Statutes are only there to justify murdering people in some name.
One of the big challenges we face together is just ironically people we get on with every day in a lot of ways. But said it, but it's got prison bars in this prison. Our companions are fellow citizens who hold us in line. Therefore, obviously, every day, every single second, there's more people joining this movement, again, whatever you want to call it. But if we can somehow turn on the accelerator pad and kind of make it go faster, and it's everyone joining together. And if you look at what the Empire's Datrix are doing there, education, you talked earlier about nature coming out of the soil. A lot of people in this country and around the world, they're going through poisonous, toxic soil. Therefore, turn out this way. We turn out this way because we've taken in other nutrients from, for example, media. Danny, Dominic, many people around, you delve into media, have a message, be it music, radio, film. They use the mass media, and it's extremely effective. We all know how effective mass media is. Just one idea for one little project of the hundreds we do. Anyone who's slightly involved with media at all, or can even just take a photo or write something, maybe we can make a kind of connectivity and start our own mass media.
Yeah.
And just really accelerate what's happening.
We do have a wonderful tool that nobody's ever had in the past.
That's right.
Yeah.
And it's
Yeah,
free
but
to
the
us.
internet is rather controlled.
Yes.
And,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
it's using our own mass media. I mean, you know, YouTube is obviously the big one, but that is very controlled. You know,
We all got here through no other means than technology. I know because I was the source of this thing, and I spent one day at someone else's house who had broadband, and I set up a group. I thought I set up an event as well, and I hadn't. I just joined loads of people into a group and found you didn't even give me permission. I just made you all part of my group and went, fucking hell, man. I'm going to be in loads of shit. And I got a few emails from some friends going, what the fuck? But the rest of you didn't.
There is a point though. I mean, there's nobody here who isn't awakened to some degree. That's what I'm saying.
And it's how we got here in this particular gathering. Of all gatherings I've ever been at, this is the only one I've ever organised or even been to where it was, as far as I'm aware, entirely done through the internet. Yeah, but I've never before, man.
I think the problem is we've given too much power to technology in order to use it as a reason to get together. You know, and that's the problem. We've lost this natural ability to.
Can we talk one at a time? Distraction. I'm trying to listen to this guy.
We've lost this natural ability to, I don't know, to some degree, think what the other person's thinking and say, listen, we've got to get together and do something. And it happens naturally. Now we're using this artificial means, you know, and it's going to go one day. It's going to go one day. And when it goes, we're not going to know how to reconnect because we've lost completely.
The technology's there because our spirits have evolved.
Yes.
So
Yes.
we've got that and facilitating the next step in our evolution. So
It's mirroring what we can already do.
It's going to move away from technology.
At this moment in time, everything that goes into technology, they can see what we're thinking. They can counteract what we're going to do. This is a problem for technology. It's no longer natural.
But without it, we could never know it. A lot of us would not be enlightened without that. It's only because of that technology that men would have actually.
But
It's
also,
the ownership and abuse of
without
technology.
that technology, we would be what we truly are. Though.
It's the
Surely we
ownership
would be
and
community
abuse
reliant
of the
on each other.
technology that's at question,
I think
not the
it's how-
technology.
Yeah, I think
It's the ownership and abuse.
Exactly.
It's the direction of all the funding.
It's the intention of it.
So let's not misunderstand technology from the point of view of it's bad. Let's not throw out technology because it's not natural. It is natural in that it reflects things which are natural inside of our psychic abilities. The internet is like the fourth dimension.
It's also a way of
And emails
honest
are like psychic
conversation.
thoughts.
You won't get an honest conversation in mass media. Mass media is not designed for that.
Call it propaganda.
Now, the internet, when people talk on the internet, when they, like I'm a survivor, okay? How many people in this room know what the word survivor means in the modern world? 3 people, right? 4 people. 15 years ago, the word survivor, nobody knew what the fuck it was, right? Still, nobody knows what it was. But we are people who are abused in Catholic and Christian and Muslim and other religious institutions as children in a long-term based thing. We're Irish, we're English, we're Native American, we're Hindi, we're Pakistani, we're Australian, we're all over the world. And we have been fighting the system front on its fucking face all over the world for the last 20, 30 years. And we have grown because we have been able to communicate with each other, write to each other on the internet and say, this is what happened to me. I was raped by a priest. I was beaten senseless and locked in a cupboard under a door. Somebody else would write and tell me their story. And we're changing these stories. Now we're putting it together to show this is a big picture that's happening all over the world. So what I'm saying is, it's not the mass media. It's the ability to be honest with other people around you that builds the connections. So technology is just one of the many ways to do it. Once you know how to be honest, you don't need the technology. You just do it. And I can tell you that the people who are fighting back in South America, who are indigenous peoples, like the Zapatistas, they do that because they are honest. They are fundamentally honest with themselves, most of all. That's really important. And then with each other. And that's what will make the difference in the long term with this movement of ours, is our ability to obtain that honest flow of information. So that's the distinction between mass media. You know, you don't want, not, if I see some fucking hero coming up and everybody wants to follow him, that's mass media. If you think you've got a good idea and you want to get it out to the world and you give it to the mass media, they will co-opt it and it will be fucked and you'll be shafted. Give it to the people around you and let it percolate. Because that's how we got here. The percolation effect at the grassroots.
Yep.
Understand that and use the tools as a grassroots piece of the human bacteria to do the work. Ignore the fucking big fucking blah-de-da, Dave Likes and all the rest. It's all bollocks. Talk to your friends. Talk to the people in your community. That's how we build it.
Wouldn't a survivor be taken to mean someone who perhaps survived something else apart?
Anybody who's had a really horrendously traumatizing experience and comes out and speaks out about it is now a survivor. So all those people in Iraq who we don't hear in this country, they're survivors. All the kids in Gaza, they're survivors. Yeah? Anybody here who was assaulted as a child in any way or humiliated long term or made to feel like you're a piece of shit and you're not worth, and you're talking about that experience and connecting it to the system, because it is the same thing that the system does. Governments are like bad, dysfunctional parents. They abuse their children and they get their children to feel bad about it. We're the ones who feel bad for breaking the laws. We're the ones who feel bad for not having a work, or not having a house, or a car, or all the rest of it. It's the exact same dynamic. And once you understand that, you can really deconstruct it. And again, honesty is
But also, we've been having these meetings for a long time. A lot of people would think that we've only started having these meetings since we've got the internet and we can connect and we can meet together. But actually, we've had these meetings for almost 100 years, including Bull.
No, I said more.
I
don't think thousands of years ago.
Thousands and thousands and thousands.
Any art history book, it talks about the Surrealists and the Dadaïsts, and what do they all say? The whole of the art world was against the ruling class, the elites that we're fighting today. the artisans, the media people, they all got together and they all created their own magazines and their own newspapers.